Performance versus sleep. I'm Tony. Welcome back to Streetball Strategies.
Still getting off when I'm guilty. Plenty dirty money cause it's filthy. I was paying bills since I little me. Hustle all in my blood cells. I'm the definition of upsell. Keep the ball rolling even uphill. Came from the bottom but I'm upscale.
Today we're talking about supplementing your game, your training, your practicing by using caffeine. Now I haven't talked about supplement and supplementation much at all on this channel because I am aware that a lot of the viewers of these videos are probably younger players, beginner players, impressionable players. And when you bring up a subject like supplements and supplementation for your game, for your body to increase your performance, a lot of younger, less experienced players can take that as being like a shortcut or a hack, but it's not. When we're talking about caffeine, it is just a supplement. It's meant to help to supplement your performance. A problem with human nature in general is that if you tell someone, here's this supplement, it'll help you a little bit to this degree. They'll say, okay, well, if I take this, designated amount to help me a little bit, what happens if I double that, triple that, increase it way beyond what it's supposed to be to the point where they're now abusing whatever supplementation it may be? That's why I haven't talked about it really at all, because I don't want you guys to think that just because I'm mentioning a certain supplement means that if you use it way more than I recommend that you'll get exponential, benefits from it, when you will not. You'll just end up abusing it. So just to cover my own security, let me just say, I'm not a doctor, I'm not your doctor. You should not listen to me about any kind of supplementation or medical or physical advice, recommendations I give you. I'm only giving you my experience, what I do, what works for me. I'll tell you what I do and why and how, and from that you can extrapolate your own conclusions, but I am not telling you, I'm not recommending that you do any of this. That being said, let's talk today about caffeine and how it can be used to help benefit your performance and what impact it may have on your sleep. Starting off with performance. So caffeine is a stimulant, right? It stimulates your body hormonally. Without going too far into the chemistry, let's just say that caffeine blocks the receptor that lets you feel tired and fatigued, right? It keeps away the hormones that make you feel sleepy, fatigued, and tired. So no, in case you were under the impression, caffeine does not give you energy. It just makes you, it tricks your body hormonally into thinking that you have more energy than you actually have, or that you're more awake than you actually are. When it comes to performance, that can be a very good thing. It also stimulates your body's production of dopamine and serotonin. So not only do you get that energized, woken up feeling from caffeine, but also you get the mental focus, clarity benefits, along with the emotional, being in a good mood benefits from caffeine. For me in particular, I prize energy. The more energy I have, the better I feel, the better mood I'm in, the better I can play. And if caffeine aids me in feeling like I have better energy, the more it's going to benefit me on the basketball court. In terms of dosage, caffeine is measured in milligrams, and the USDA recommends about 400 milligrams of caffeine per day per person. But my thought process has always been, just because you can have something, just because you have access to something, doesn't mean you should have that thing. Just because you can have it doesn't mean you should have it. So let's say, for instance, you only have one serving of caffeine a day. You only have like one cup of coffee, or you have one energy drink per day. But you have that 7 days a week for 350 days a year. Even though you're only having one serving, which may be like 80 milligrams to like 120, 140 milligrams for that one serving once per day, so you're keeping your intake, your dosage pretty low. The more your body gets used to having that one serving on a daily, regular basis, the less your body's going to feel it. You're going to build a tolerance over time. And of course, the higher your dosage for the day is, the stronger that tolerance is going to be and the faster you're going to establish it. The more tolerance you have, the less that caffeine's going to work for you, the less you're going to feel it. So the less you feel it, that means the more volume you're going to have to take in order to feel it the way you used to feel it. And before you know it, you're having 4, 5, 6 cups of coffee or energy drinks per day, and that's ridiculous. So when we're talking about performance and how you can use caffeine to maximize your performance, my philosophy, and keep in mind, this is coming from me, my own experience, which is I am naturally an all or nothing kind of person. That just happens to naturally fit my personality. It probably doesn't work for most people, but it just happens to work for me. That being the case, my natural inclination is to use caffeine sparingly. So most of the time I am cold turkey from caffeine. I don't take any caffeine at all. I try to restrict it as much as I possibly can, because if I'm coming out to the court and it's just a practice day, just by myself, even if it's a hard practice day, even if it's like a physical conditioning day where I'm doing line drills or a lot of plyometrics and it's taking a lot of physical effort and energy from me, even on those days, I am not taking caffeine because I want to know my baseline, meaning I want to have the deepest understanding I can how my body feels and reacts and operates just from my regular everyday diet and nutrition and water. So no caffeine, no sugar from like Gatorade or Powerade, just baseline. I want to know how it feels, and I want to know how my body reacts when I really try to push it physically without having any kind of special food or drinks or caffeine or supplementation to make me feel and perform better. By doing this, by restricting caffeine as much as I can on the days when I plan strategically to use caffeine, on those days, because I have no tolerance built up towards caffeine, those are the days when I can really use it, when I can really feel the caffeine, especially as compared to other regular players who probably just are normal average people and they consume moderate, at least moderate levels of caffeine on a daily basis. So for them, caffeine doesn't hit them the way it's going to hit me. It's not going to work for them the way it's going to work for me when I sparingly and strategically use it. And for me, that's usually on like game days, competition days, when I know I'm going to be competing. Then I use caffeine on those days to help supplement my performance. For me, I'd rather go cold turkey, 5-6 days out of the week having no caffeine, and then on those 1 or 2 days a week when I'm playing, when I'm competing, when it really counts the most, I would rather have the full brunt, the full effect of that caffeine on those days, as opposed to having a couple of cups of coffee or whatever on a daily basis and then having to ramp it up, taking more volume of caffeine on game days, on competition days when I really want to feel it. For me, I'd rather go cold turkey most days, and then on the days when I use it, have to take less and feel it more than the average person. Which brings me to the issue of caffeine affecting your sleep. Like I said, caffeine is a stimulant, so kind of think of it as like the opposite of sleep. Think of it as like anti-sleep. Now for me, at this stage in my life, because I'm no longer an active competitive basketball player, I'm retired, I've been retired for a while, I prize sleep almost above everything else. And the reason I do that is because I pretty much prize energy above anything else. And I can't have that energy without that sleep. When I was younger, in my playing days, in my teens and my 20s, I would prioritize performance over sleep quality. So if I got a bad night's sleep that night and I knew my energy was going to be low for the day, I would just supplement with a ton of caffeine to help me feel better throughout the day. Today I don't do that because I would rather naturally feel better from naturally getting a good night's sleep. And caffeine has about a 6-hour half-life, meaning 6 hours after you've taken your last dose of caffeine, after 6 hours you still have about half that amount of caffeine left in your system. So if the last time you had caffeine was like 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and for the entire day to that point you had about 400 milligrams of caffeine, 6 hours later at 10 o'clock at night you will still have about 200 milligrams of caffeine left in your system. And obviously the less caffeine you have in your system, the better it is that you're going to be able to sleep that night. Now there are exceptions to the rule, of course there are. We all know people who can drink a lot of caffeine really late in the day or at night or before bed or whatever, and they sleep just fine, but they are the exception to the rule. Just like there are people that can eat whatever they want, whenever they want, in whatever quantity they want, and they never seem to put on any fat. They're the exception to the rule, not the rule themselves. That being the case, you're gonna wanna stop drinking caffeine as early in the day as you can, because you're not gonna wanna have it interfere with your sleep at night if you can avoid it. Also keep in mind the concept of napping during the day. If you're fortunate enough to get a nap in, like, say, the early afternoon, if you take caffeine in the morning, it's probably unlikely that you're going to be able to fall asleep for that nap in the afternoon. A lot of people abuse their caffeine first thing in the morning. A lot of people they have a dependency on caffeine that it's going to help them wake up first thing in the morning. So when you wake up, you reach for caffeine as soon as you possibly can because you want to wake up as quickly and effectively as you can. Remember how caffeine works, right? It blocks those receptors in your body to keep the hormones that make you feel tired, fatigued, sleepy from reaching that receptor. So it fools your body into thinking that it's more awake, more energized than it actually is. But when you take caffeine first thing in the morning, right, the thing that makes you feel sleepy, makes you fall asleep, be asleep, stay asleep, and makes you feel groggy when you first wake up in the morning is that those receptors in the morning when you first wake up are filled with and surrounded by cortisol and other hormones that make you feel tired, sleepy, groggy. So when you take caffeine first thing in the morning, you have the receptor that's now infiltrated and surrounded by all of those fatigue hormones. When you take caffeine, the caffeine comes in and it pretty much seals in all of those hormones to and around that receptor. So for the time, you're going to feel energized and awake because of taking that caffeine, but as you go throughout the day, as that caffeine gets used up and burns away and starts to live its half-life, and your body utilizes that caffeine and it starts to evaporate away from the receptor, as it does that, now all of those hormones, those fatigue, sleepy, groggy hormones that you pretty much sealed into that and around that receptor by taking caffeine first thing in the morning, you're now releasing those fatigue, sleepy, groggy hormones in the afternoon, 6 hours later, as the half-life of that caffeine starts to wear off. So if you take caffeine at 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock in the morning, by 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, as that caffeine burns away and you release that cortisol and those sleepy hormones around that receptor, that's when you get that energy crash in the afternoon. You feel fine throughout the morning because the caffeine is blocking that receptor, but as it burns away, then you get that crash. And you combine that crash, say, with lunch, after lunch, if you have a sugary, carby lunch, right, that spikes your blood sugar. When you combine that sugar crash with that caffeine crash, now in the afternoon you are going to feel horrible from an energy standpoint. Wait 60 to 90 minutes for those cortisol and those sleepy, groggy hormones to burn away on their own before taking your caffeine. If you want to try to accelerate that process of naturally waking up in the morning, the key is sunlight, natural light. Get as much natural light on your skin, in your eyes as you possibly can first thing in the morning. That will accelerate that waking up process, meaning then you will be able to take your morning caffeine a little bit sooner. But certainly don't wake up first thing in the morning and reach for caffeine. Wait 60 to 90 minutes after you wake up. That's how you deal with caffeine and sleep. That is caffeine, performance versus sleep. Remember, caffeine is just a tool. It's just a supplement. It's meant to help with your performance. Your performance is not supposed to depend on caffeine. Neither is your daily lifestyle. You should not depend on caffeine to wake up. You should not depend on caffeine to make it through your day. You should be able to go about your everyday life just using basic diet and nutrition and water and be perfectly fine throughout the day. If you can't do that, if you feel bad or run down or lethargic throughout the day, just basic nutrition and water, then you're doing something wrong along the way. You're not getting enough sleep, or you're not getting good sleep when you do sleep, or you're eating the wrong things. You're doing something wrong. You should be able to live your daily life without any kind of supplementation, without any energy drinks, without any Gatorade, and go about your daily life perfectly fine without supplementation. That supplementation, that caffeine, is meant to give you a boost when you absolutely can make use of it. And just because you have access to it on a daily basis does not mean your daily lifestyle should depend on it. So save it for when you need it. And when you use it, then you'll be able to have it, feel it, utilize it to its best of its potential. So I want to thank you guys for watching. If you like this video, if you found it helpful, if you think it's going to help you use caffeine more strategically, more smartly, so that when you do use it, it works better for you than the next person, the average player, then please subscribe to the channel. Also, make sure you hit that thanks button down below when you do. Any comment you make down below to let me know how you use caffeine. All of those comments that you make will be highlighted because you hit that thanks button. Not only that, but when you hit that thanks button, it directly supports the channel. So anybody that does that, thank you very much. As always, like, share, comment like I said. Make sure you hit that notification bell so you're notified whenever any video goes live on this channel. And until then, I will see you guys next week.
Baby, it take money to make money, so I leave money like a tooth fairy. Never night, pat my own back, go my own way, no roadmap. Quarterbacking like my home jack, scramble out the pocket, then throw it. I almost don't count right, so I get it done. Perfect timing, hustle hard to my